Hello fellow wargamers and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon video with me, Bubblebox, as we take a look at the Finland units as I have my deck almost ready, almost finished for the Finland DLC that's coming out on Thursday. Remember, the stats are subject to change. This is a press build, but I doubt they'll change anything, if maybe some minor things. But what they normally do is they let the game play for a couple of weeks, get some data and then put a patch out. So I don't suspect they'll change that at all. So let's move in and have a look at the logistics and commands first of all. Got a nice selection, the usual nice selection of commands and logistics. We'll start off with the command because I've taken a command myself. Standard commands this time, no close quarters combat machine gun like the Yugoslavs have. Not that it's going to make a massive amount of difference with a strength of 5 squad. Variety of trucks. We've got a Super Puma as well. We can bring them in. I've actually bought mine in an Bushmaster. I'm actually going to delete that and use that Bushmaster elsewhere and bring my commands in the Super Puma just so I can get them out rapidly. The Super Puma, one of the fastest helicopters in the game at 300 kilometers per hour, although you have got, of course, the usual variety of trucks that you can bring them in as well. My other command, I've actually gone for a tank command, the T-72 Cobra. Probably only use this kind of on rare occasions, but it's in my deck just in case I need it. It's a pretty decent one, not quite as good if I remember rightly as the Yugoslavs big tank command, but still okay. Armor's not too shabby, the gun's not great, but yeah, it's just a command tank. You can get a slightly cheaper one in the form of the T-55A Cobra if you want to spend a little bit less money, have a little bit less for good of a gun, and have a little bit less armor to protect it. As well as that, we have some other nice commands up here. The BTR-50YVI, which is amphibious and only costs 100 points, which is normally how much a command Jeep normally costs. So I'm surprised it's quite so cheap. Maybe it's the speed. The speed's down a little bit on to 45 kilometers per hour. So maybe that's the reason it's kept nice and cheap. And if we have a look at the Jeep, yeah, the Jeep's got a speed of 90, but a lot more squishy, obviously. But you get more of them. And Jeep, you get 7, and this guy, you get only 5. So it's a trade-off between speed, really, between those two, and it is tracked as well. We have got a wheeled version here. We've got the BMP 1K Corpo. It is 125 points this time. A little bit of armor and a little bit of a gun on board as well. And the XA 180, still 125 points, but speed of 100 this time, and is amphibious also, although the BMP is also amphibious. Okay. So an interesting little selection of vehicles there on the command tab. We've also got the ubiquitous command chopper if you feel the need. I never feel the need, but if you do feel the need, you want a command chopper with very good optics, it's there if you need it. Got myself a fob, of course, and I've got the only resupplied chopper in that we can have for the Finns. I've grabbed that as well. Speed's 250, which isn't great, but it's full of logistics, so what do you expect? We've got the usual 2 trucks. And of course, if I normally do, I've gone for this one that holds more supply, although not a lot more, only 800 litres, and they've both got a squishy strength of only 5. So if an artillery shell, lands within a gazillion yards of them, they're going to die probably. So anyway, that is my logistics, and let's move on to the infantry. Now, the infantry is one of the strengths of the Finland units. You can see, actually, I've only spent my activation points up here. I've only spent 51 at the moment out of 60. That's because I can't really see anything else I want to take, to be honest, that's decent, although I will fill them up at the end. But if we have a look, first thing I always go for is some commando type units, the elites, and I've got them in these, what am I doing? I'm going to call them Rannies. I can't pronounce these names. The Ranny 90s. I've gone for. You can have the Ranny 90s or you can have the normal Rannies. The reason for the 90s is because it's just for the ATGMs better. These are elite troops. They're meant to be able to tackle anything they come across, so that's why I've got them. And I've bought them in BTR 60PBs. Next, I chose my ATGM units. Now, there's 2 ATGM units to choose from. For me, again, it's a little bit of a no-brainer. We've got the Conkers. the awesome Conkers, and then we've got the Spike MR. So I'll let you decide. I think you know which one. The Conkers do have a slightly longer range, but those Spike MRs are really fast and they've got a really good accuracy and slightly better AP power, just slightly better, but they are on the whole a lot better and they're the same price. So we're definitely going to be going for the Spikes in our deck, and I bought them in BMP2s just to give them a little bit of fire support in case they come across any infantry trying to take them out. Again, with the similar to the ATGM units, the manpad units come in two variants as well. We've got the ITO 78s, which look absolutely terrible, and then we've got the ITO 86Ms, which look a lot better with a longer range, especially against helicopters, which is what you're probably going to be sniping with manpads, and the accuracy is a lot better, and the HE power is 5, which will shoot one shot a lot of the Blue 4 choppers down. So definitely go for the IT 86. And what I bought it in, again I bought it in BMP2s, which should be useful throughout the game as well. Now, as far as my standard infantry is concerned, we'll have a look at those first, and then we'll have a look at the rest of the infantry that I could have chosen. I've gone for these guys, which are the Panzer Gyarakis, and you can have the Panzer Gyaraki 90s, and I've actually taken a set of each, one for infantry fighting and one just in case we come across any ATGMs like vehicles, etc., because they've got a better anti-tank weapon or anti-vehicle weapon. Apart from that, they're pretty much the same with the close quarters machine gun, the KK62, and a very similar, not the same, but a very similar primary weapon as well, which actually just has exactly the same stats, although it's a slightly different weapon. So they're the two that I've chosen, and they're my shock troops, and you do get a lot of them as well. Like the 90s, how many have we got? We've got 14, and the standard ones 17. Oh, I've got them vetted. Oh, I've got them vetted at 10 and 12, and I've bought them in XA 105s with the Bushmaster. That's, I think, is that the standard ones? Yeah, that's the standard ones I've bought in the Bushmaster, and the other one I bought in BMP2s again. So that's all my infantry. Now there are some others to choose from, and some quite nice ones as well. So this is going to be like really good for like a motorized or mechanized deck, I think, the Finns. And you could have had, for standard, if you wanted just some standard rifle units, you've got the Yakaris, or you could also have the Yakari 90s. Some pretty standard but pretty nice, just regularly trained line infantry, again coming in a variety of vehicles. Now I have actually got, have I got a Bushmaster left? I've just realised, and my Panzer. Sorry about this, just quickly check. Yes, I have. So I'm just going to delete those with the BMP2, and I'm going to bring them in with the one with the Bushmaster as well. Yeah, that's why I changed over the command at the start. So we've got that as well. In fact, we're going to bring them in as veterans. There we go. So I digress. So back to the infantry. So they've got some regular line infantry there. I've also got these guys here, the Nostovakis. They look quite an interesting unit. Got that gun with an AP power of 2 that fires KE or kinetic rounds. Looks interesting. I don't tend to go for these strength 5 because I play, as I say, big maps, spammy maps, lots of artillery. But I mean, 1v1s, maybe 2v2s, these could be very, very useful units to have. And there's some more fire support down here as well. These things, the Rasasinkaro, or however you pronounce that, I've got a very unusual gun here, which fires heat rockets, 10 of them, with an AP power of 16, and accuracy not too shabby of 40. Look okay. Again, they'll need protection from other infantry, but be interesting to see how people manage to play them out as well. Now there's one other interesting unit to have a look at, if I can find it. Is it, have we done the Yakaris? Yeah. Oh, it's these guys. Here we are, the Kartin Yakaris. These are 15-man shock units, and they look very, very good. I haven't put them in my deck, but I may put them in a deck in the future with the close quarters combat machine gun, etc. All the usual stuff from shock trained troops, but with a strength of 15. Get slightly less availability, of course, than the others, but just 5 points more for those extra 5 in each squad. And again, they come in the usual variety of trucks. Moving on to the support. So infantry, very good for Finland. Support, the AA, not too bad. Let's have a look at that first. Got some interesting AA pieces. What have I taken first of all? I've taken this guy. This is the Ito 96 radar guided anti-air weapon. Looks like a buck because it probably is a buck, and it's got, yeah, it is a buck. Okay, so it's got 4,550 meter range, and it can shoot down helicopters as well if they get close enough to it. Your standard buck, we know all about it. It's a pretty awesome weapon. It is radar guided and needs to be babysat. And then I've got the Ito 90. The Ito 90 looks absolutely awesome. Now it is expensive at 90 points, but it's not radar guided, and it has 8 missiles and can shoot at a range of 3,325 and can shoot aircraft if they fly over the top of it as well, and has an accuracy of 60%. It looks like a really awesome weapon, a must have. You do only get 5 at trained and 4 at hardened, so you're going to have to look after those, but they do look absolutely amazing weapon to shoot down helicopters. So they're my 2 main anti-air. Now to supplement my Itos, I've got the Ito 86 because you only get 3 or 4 or 5 Itos. So I've got the Ito 86 as well. Get a lot of these, and just for backup to shoot down any helicopters. You can also put them on the flanks, in trees. There's a little unit at the back maybe to protect against helicopters coming around the back, that sort of thing. But they don't look too bad. They have got 10 missiles, and I think they're going to fire 2 at a time by the looks of it, 40% accuracy, so maybe one will hit. HE power of 4. Apart from that, we've got some other okay kind of weapons. We've got the Ito 79. This is also radar guided. It's kind of, I mean, let's have a quick compare here. So that's the Ito 79, that's the Ito 90. It's 55 points because it's only got 2 missiles, but everything else, I think, oh, not, am I looking at the wrong one? This one I'm meant to be looking at, there we go. Yeah, everything else is pretty much the same. The accuracy is down. It's only got 2 missiles. Only costs 55. Yeah. So I've gone for the upgraded one, basically. I mean, you could go for the cheaper one, but it's radar guided. You have to babysit them. You don't want them all around the map, so yeah. Anyway, next we've got some guns. We have got a marksman as well. It's the less armoured type of marksman. It is radar guided, so again you're gonna have to babysit them, but these things are awesome if you can micro them correctly. They can absolutely destroy infantry and are brilliant fire support weapons if used correctly, and can gun down helicopters as well, but they will wreck infantry if you use them correctly. Then we've got this bad boy here. Seen this many a time. It's got kind of a funny way it fires in bursts, which I don't really like, even though it's got quite a nice range against helicopters and is very cheap. And then we've got some more cheap Sergei and the Sergei mod, just some more cheap guns if you wanted something to splay around on the map. Moving on to the artillery. We'll have a look at the MLRSs first, I think, because I have got the RA 91. This is the got very powerful HE rockets of 11, so will kill stuff and will certainly suppress stuff as well. So that's my main rocket launcher, 16 big rockets. There's also MLRS wise, you've got the Recon 89, which is a napalm launcher, but it's only got an HE power of 1. So it doesn't look all that powerful, but we'll see how that plays out, see what if people play that. And then we've got the cluster bomber, sorry, the cluster one with cluster munitions, rocket pod with cluster munitions, with an AP power though of only 3. So again, doesn't look that powerful. Probably have to get 2 or 3 of those out in a bunch to do any real damage. Again, like the Finns, the range of tube artillery doesn't look too amazing. In fact, it looks pretty damn terrible, and I probably wouldn't take them, to be honest. They don't look great. Apart from that, we have a nice selection of mortars, and I've gone for the Telakra 66 long range mortar with 160mm rounds, a la Makhmat of the Israelis. HE power of 6, so it's going to do a nice amount of damage. The amount of ammo it carries is only 42, so it could be a little bit heavy on logistics. And how many of these do... Oops, wrong one. How many of these do we get? We get 5 at trained. Okay. Now, there is another nice mortar, so don't immediately go for the Telakra 66. This one's not too bad, the Telakra 84 as well. It's got a range slightly less, but the HE power is not too bad. It's only one less, 5. And you get 5 of these again, I think. And yeah, just the range isn't too bad. One less HE power, and it carries a lot more ammo and is cheaper by 20 points. It's also faster across the ground. Autonomy is about the same, and it is also amphibious, so that's not too bad a mortar as well. The final mortar is the 30-point mortar, which is kind of, you have to get a bit closer to the front lines. It's only got an HE power of 3, not very powerful, so I'd go for one of these two mortars, the 60-pointer or the 40-pointer. And the tube artillery just looks terrible. Tank wise, the Finns haven't got anything amazing. This is their best tank, which I of course have taken, the 164.T72 M1 mod. It's got an okay gun. I mean, the accuracy is 70%. It's got okay armor, nothing amazing for a heavy. It's just a decent heavy tank. And to back it up, we've got the T72 M1 Piave. Again, an okay gun. The armor for a 120-point tank is not amazing in my opinion. Just some standard tanks. I mean, nothing amazing, and I may add to those because we haven't got many. So moving on to the Recon, we've got this little fellow, the Monjika, an ATV, all-terrain vehicle. Strength is only 3, so very squishy, but it is a wheeled vehicle that is very small, so it's hard to hit. But more importantly, it's got very good stealth, so it's really hard to see and can see itself very well with very good optics. So I'm going to hope we'll test this out. I don't know how good it's going to be. It looks pretty awesome though, so we'll check it out in game. I've also got a Recon Tank. It's not the best Recon Tank in the game. The gun's not amazing. The armor's not amazing, but it is only 65 points for a Recon Tank. So I decided to put that in my deck as well. There is another Recon Tank, or should I say a Recon Tankette, with just good optics. Very squishy though, 15 points. I'll probably avoid that one. I've also got a Commando Recon. These guys, I can't even pronounce it. I recognise that one. The Areki Yakaris. These are interesting in that they've got the Igla N with can shoot down helicopters at a nice range and have a very nice accuracy and an HE power of 5, so should shoot down any Blue 4 chopper with one hit, or most of them anyway. Got a little submachine gun and some nice, very powerful in fact, rockets, anti-tank rockets as well. Very powerful, 23, nice. I'm liking that, and I bought that in a BTR. 60 PB. Apart from those, I've gone for some standard kind of, well, I say standard, they're not that standard. These S1 SSIs, I guess they're called, and they've got the Dragunov SVD, which is a sniper rifle basically, but it's a sniper, so we'll have to see how that one plays out. 10-man squads as well for just 20 points. Okay anti-tank weapon, and a nice little primary as well, so quite a nice recon unit. Not the fastest, but quite a nice recon unit, and I bought those in very cheap trucks so we can display them around the map a little bit. I'm not sure if I need both those and the ATMs, but we've got them anyway because they have got some really nice recon units. Apart from that, I've got the BMP-1TJJ with Conkers missiles. Again, I don't like using my recon units as fighting weapons, but in this case, for just 35 points, I thought I'd put it in. Now there are some others that are pretty decent as well, and some others that are not so decent. Decent ones, we've got the BMP TJJ with Conkers, we've got the BMP IKT with Bushmaster, which if you want weapons on your recon, not too bad. Then we've got these choppers. Now normally I like to take choppers in my recon, but these just don't look very good, and the reason I don't like them is because of their speed. The speed is not good, 185 and 220. One of them has got exceptional and one of them very good optics. If I took one, I'd take the Aliquot with very good optics. The speed I just don't like because it can take you forever to get them around the map checking this stuff out. We've got the Jeep as well, if you just want one of the standard Jeeps for 25 points. Very good optics, if you prefer that to the ATV maybe, for 5 points less. And that's pretty much the Recon tab covered. Moving on to the vehicles. And the Finns, I've got slightly better vehicles than the Yugoslavs. Not amazing though. The top row here is kind of an up. You get better ATGM vehicles. We've got a terrible one here with an accuracy of only 35. Then we've got the better XA 180 with the ITOs, and the one I've chosen, the 60-point TOW 2, 70% accurate, 25 AP power with a little bit of armor, but very fast. So that's the one I've chosen. Now I could have chosen the Sturms. I'm tempted just to get them on the map to see what they look like, but with a speed of 40 kilometers per hour and an autonomy of 155, yeah, pretty damned terrible. Only 5 points, but just terrible. If you manage to get them, they'd be quite good infantry support vehicles. They've got a nice little gun, can shoot AP, 8G2, but can you get them there? That's the question. And then we've got a couple of a pretty terrible Jeep with faggots, and this thing, I'm not sure what this is. Actually, I don't know what this is. Fires heat rounds. Looks quite interesting actually, with that AP power of 16. I'm tempted to get that. I might stick that in my deck at the end. Helicopter wise, very poor choice of helis. The only one I've gone for is the HH-10, the TOW 2 missiles again. So it's got some decent ATGM units in this deck. The other two helicopters, are just not that good. I mean, they're not that expensive. I mean, this one's quite expensive for what it is. I mean, that's got 40 rocket pod, I suppose, which isn't too bad, and a nice little cannon, which isn't too bad, but nothing amazing, nothing with ATGMs as well. If this had ATGMs as well maybe and was 80 points, I'd probably take it, but as it is, probably not. Aircraft, got some good aircraft and some terrible aircraft. This is the big boy. 110 points isn't too bad for one 1,500 kilogram bomb with a strength of 15. So this is your big bomber for the Finns, and we'll have to see how that plays out in game. I've also taken the air superiority fighter, the one with the 6 AMRAAMs, so it's got a good loadout, a couple of AIM 9Ms as well to back up those AMRAAMs. Shoots fairly fast, 1,000 kilometers per hour, exceptional air detection, ECM 50%. Just a nice air superiority fighter. And I've got the MiG-29 9.13, which I don't like very much, but there wasn't a lot else to put in the deck, to be honest. So I've got that as well. It's only got two Vimpel missiles, so it doesn't look amazing, but as I say, I couldn't really think of anything else to spend my money on. So apart from that, I've got a few other things. I've got this thing here, which looks absolutely terrible. It's got 2 AS2s, which has an accuracy of 35%. AP power's not too bad. No ECM. Speed's terrible. Time over target, well, it just looks terrible. I mean, I'm tempted to put it in just so that they can laugh at me when I bring it out into game. I mean, the range as well, 2,800. I don't know, maybe you could try and get side rear shots on tanks and just have this thing taken out, and then you might take out a decent tank for a 60-point plane. But yeah, it looks pretty terrible. Then we've got the Hawk, fires HE bombs. It's got a couple of missiles as well to protect itself. Doesn't look too bad, I suppose, for 60 points, but it's quite an old-fashioned plane. It's not too slow either at 900, so not too bad. And then we've got this thing, the J-35S, with these really unusual and terrible-looking Falcon missiles, and a couple of aims as well thrown in. Doesn't look that good. Napalm bomber. This thing, again, bit of a mishmash of stuff. No ECM, and then a few other planes that just don't float my boat really. Just don't. Nothing's good. Nothing's good. But anyway, that's the Finns. But I've got some more points to spend. I've got a few points to spend. Now, what was I thinking of getting? My logistics is full, as it should be. Infantry full, support full, tanks. Yeah, I need to probably get a few more tanks. Let's get... what can we get? We can get T-72 M1s. 75 points, though, is a lot for not much. But I don't think there's really anything else. We'll get some of those. Yeah, we'll get some of those. Get them vetted up, I think, hardened. What else? Vehicles tab, maybe. Throw these things in. They look interesting. And still got 5 points to spend. Let's just get another aircraft. Just for the hell of it, we'll get this napalm bomber. No. We're going to get that stupid one. Where is it? Is it this thing? Yeah, we'll get this. Okay, so that's it for the Finnish deck. Let's go back. There it is in all its glory. We should be playing a couple of games with this deck and putting them up on the channel. Please do comment on the Finnish decks. Tell me I've put things in that are terrible. Tell me I should put things in that are great, and then I can improve my deck, can't I? But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.